Welcome to the start of my Mythic Plus series. This is going to be the very start of it. This is going to be a +5 freehold. When doing Mythic Pluses, I do recommend to try and look up the boss mechanics and stuff beforehand, like a 5 to 10 minute Mythic Plus guide video will be fine. I already know this because I've played Battle for Azeroth, so I know most of the fights in this dungeon, so I'm not too worried about that. My current item level is 401. This is a +5 freehold, so it's only going to have, I believe, Tyrannical as the boss mechanic. I do have a tier 2. Since I last played, I did do some Mythic Pluses to kind of prepare for this series. As you can see, I got a 9, an 8, a 7, a 6, a 6, a 5, a 5, a 2. However, I'm not trying to get my key number up at the moment. I'm mostly just trying to get gear. I still have some 389 stuff, some 376 or 379 I mean, so I could definitely use this dungeon, even though it's not going to give me a better key number per se, even though I didn't time this one, so it might, I can't remember exactly how the point system works. But as you can see, I have done at least one of each dungeon. I did watch videos for every single dungeon, however that will not completely prepare you for the dungeon. Another thing to do before your dungeon is make sure you repair. Mostly because if you don't repair items, this dungeon is an exception. You can mount in it, but there are some dungeons you can't mount, and if you need to repair, you have to run all the way out, and these are timed, so that can drastically hurt you. Because this is a low key, they might pull bigger than what they usually would.
Barnacle bottom swine!
I also didn't claim to be the best at these.
I need to target something first.
And it looks like we have someone who's super geared in here.
Bombs away!
Yeah, not super geared. I guess they just do a lot of damage. As a tank, it is even more important to know these fights than it is as a DPS or a healer, because you gotta know pathing and stuff, percentages, because you don't want to overpull mobs. Overpulling can cause increased time, it can cause you to not time your key. I do like this dungeon. It's a pretty easy dungeon. This first boss flies around. All you have to really do is move out of the stuff on the ground and make sure you don't get hit by the bird. The bird will basically stand here and then shoot to each side on occasion, so just keep an eye on that.
Avast, you build suckers!
This is tyrannical, so the bosses do have a lot more health.
Shark bait, come about and blast their broadsides!
If you're not too comfortable about doing the dungeons yet, start at +2s. That's the lowest you can go. However, I will admit +2s you don't even really have the dodge mechanics in, so they're not the best. As you can see, we have pretty good DPS. That's the bird I was talking about right there. If you get hit on upper keys, that's basically a one-shot.
Guess I be off to the locker.
Craig, Dad! Shark bait, sorry. Sorry, you smell like parrot guano.
The one thing I don't really like about some dungeons is people have really bad habits to drag stuff, which isn't against them. It's kind of required. But as a caster and a shaman, Earthquake is one of my big AoEs, and it gets dragged out of my AoEs a lot. I usually just follow tanks. I don't really know the pathing very well. When I used to tank this a lot, I did know the pathing pretty well, so that was a nice thing. This Demon Hunter is doing a lot of damage. I'm not surprised. Demon Hunters are known for their extremely high burst and really good survivability while transformed. Oh, that's not good. That was kind of my fault for not moving. I shouldn't have pulled that. You do kind of have to watch pats and stuff in these dungeons, because there's times where getting pats could almost wipe you. For this next boss, the big thing is to make sure you kill the captain first. Well, they're both named Captain. You got to kill the Vulperian captain first. She does a lot of damage. That right there is really deadly. However, the guy doesn't do much, so he can kind of be ignored. Basically, once you get her down, the guy is super easy to kill. You gotta make sure you break people out of the barrels. And then just don't stand and stuff on the ground, and it's easy peasy. Having speed boost here definitely is helpful. We got pretty good damage too, so that does help also. I don't know if this is cleave or people actually attacking that guy. I hope it was just cleave. Freehold, I think personally, is one of the easiest dungeons to do. I think the bosses are pretty simplistic. You just move out of stuff, don't get hit. I could be missing mechanics I'm not aware of, maybe, that are more prevalent in higher keys when there's more damage to them. This is one of my more comfortable keys. Like I said, I did this for almost the entire expansion. You can use your burst pretty reasonably here. The next boss does require, like, I think a minute or two to spawn. Unfortunately, I am going to lose my burst. This is one of those examples where dragging mobs kind of sucks for Ellie Shaman. However, here it's actually good to do this because it does take a good minute for this boss to pop up. You have to do a little pig where you pick up the pig.
That's your cue, landlubbers.
choke me. Oh, wake up, Woden. We're on.
Come on, say the things! Say the things!
Ouch. Okay. Gather round for a show of unbridled ferocity. Coming to you from parts unknown.
This is not going well.
Mysterious, the dangerous, the slightly unkempt, the band of smelly buccaneers. And entering the ring.
This is why it's so important to pay attention where you're doing in here.
Incredible,
On higher keys, this probably would have been a guaranteed wipe.
What the? Really? It's a greased up pig? I'm beginning to think this is not a professional setup. Oh well, grab the pig and you win.
I tried to get the pig. Yeah, this one can be kind of challenging, especially when the pig runs through mobs. The best ones for this is Druid and Shaman because they have a pretty nice speed
Caught
boost.
a pig. Maybe we should move on to a more threatening challenge. From the sewers of Freehold comes a Tortolan brigand who makes it his duty.
This is what I meant by it does take a while for this boss to pop up, unfortunately.
He is the dynamo
And
of
this
the
isn't
pit,
even the boss,
the
this is just a
sergeant of
mini
shell
boss
shock,
before the boss.
The hellion in a half shell, Ludwig.
For this guy, you just have to dodge the shells that he shoots out. Pretty easy. If he lives for a while, though, it can be a pain in the butt because when you get a bunch of shells out, it's really easy to get hit by one. On this difficulty, they don't do too much damage. Higher difficulties, they can do a lot of damage. That's always one thing to remember. Just because it does a low amount of damage on level 5 doesn't mean it'll do a low amount of damage on level 15 or higher.
These smelly buccaneers are resilient, and they better be, because their next challenger is the epitome of brutality. A champion that sleeps with the fishes. Literally, the Freehold fanatic, the master of the jagged.
This boss is
jawbone
pretty easy.
jab,
You just
the
have to make
powerful
sure
pugilist predator.
to run the sharks into the blood pools on the ground.
Puncher!
If you run the sharks into an ally, the sharks will then go for that ally instead of you, so you don't want to do that unless it's unavoidable. This can suck though, because if you're in the middle of your high burst and then someone runs a shark into you, I think you have to run the shark into 2 pools. You definitely have to run from the sharks though. If you try to sit and just tank it, you will die. It's usually best not to stand near the pools if you can, just because if someone goes to run a shark through a pool, then it does like that hunter did and it goes straight onto them, and they may not be paying attention, and it could kill them. I'm kind of surprised I haven't got a shark. I think the sharks go on the farthest target away, but I don't know that as 100%. You definitely don't want to run the sharks into melee or the tank, though. That's a big no-no.
I need to target something first.
With enough damage on lower keys, you can kind of just bully your way through them. You don't have to worry about mechanics as much because you can kill stuff fast. However, on higher keys, when you can't, especially on Tyrannical, bosses have a lot more health and do more damage. The more health is more of the issue. You do need to sometimes interrupt stuff. However, I haven't really had that issue this run. I try to use my capacity, I think that's what it's called, capacitor totem on cooldown because it does stun everything. One nice perk of a shaman is Quake also has a mini stun, or chance I should say to mini stun. So the more Quakes I get down, the more mini stuns, the more it helps the tank. The only downside to my shaman's build is if I get 0 procs, my damage does kind of go up a little bit slow. However, it's very rare because I have so much stuff that has a possibility of proccing. And now that I have the tier piece, I also have the every 50 seconds I get 1 Stormkeeper charge. Even though I kind of wish it was more. I wish it was 2 charges.
Think you can stand against me, swine? Allow me to educate you.
For this, it's very important to try not to spread out the cannonballs, but that's about it, to be honest. And to kill the ads.
Cannons! Blast these scurvy dogs to
If you get hit by those, it's almost a one-shot. I only know that because I ran this last night and got one shot. You do have to watch the ads because they do a lot of damage. I don't know if it's a one-shot though.
Cannons! Blast these scurvy dogs to bits! All hands on deck!
The tank really isn't supposed to have it that close to where the ads spawn because it doesn't give us a chance to kill them. I also try to drop my healing stream total whenever possible.
No one
And that's freehold +5.
my booty.
We got a +3 for the key, so now it's an 8. I got a nice pair of wrists, but I don't think I actually need those. Nope. Yeah, I've had some really bad luck. I either get nothing or I get something I already have. Like, I mean, hands I could really use. Pants. Trinkets, badly. It seems like trinkets never drop, though. The one nice thing about doing these is you do get crest stuff. Depending on what level you do, you get certain crest percentages, which I will show once I hearth out. Once you leave the group, it gives you a certain amount of time, it kicks you out. You can trade gear if you happen not to need something or someone else happens not to need something and it's not considered an upgrade, because it's not always an upgrade, but you still can't trade it. Like, I got a couple necks yesterday that were item level upgrades but not stat level upgrades because I can't really afford to lose any more haste, so I kind of had to stay with this. And here we go. I got these, however these only come from 2 to 5 or 2 to 6. I can't remember what the range is exactly on crest, but yeah, I know it's around 6 to 8 is when you start getting the Drake Shadow Flame crest, which is pretty nice because those are required. Like, I upgraded this to 424 8 out of 8, and I think it required a couple to do that. I have the stuff to be able to do a recipe, however I can't really decide what I want to make in terms of equipment for my tune. I got these through doing the dungeons because you do have a chance to get splittered sparks of Shadow Flame from doing the dungeons. 2, you can make that and get a piece of gear. This I got from doing the Embers of Netherian quest line. I think the only other way to get those is through enchanting. I might be incorrect about that though. And lastly, another little nice thing to know about doing Mythic Pluses is over here.
You have arrived.
This will show you,
As always, on time.
where the key is. Where can I find this? Basically all the dungeons. I know how to do most of
This has
these
been time well spent.
fairly well. The only dungeons I do not know how to do very well is the DragonFlight ones. Mostly this one, Halls of Infusion. I know how to do Netherius, Oldham. I did this one multiple times yesterday, so I'm pretty good on that. And I ran all these as old content, so I know how to do those as well. I would say out of the old content ones, Underrot's probably the hardest of them. I don't know why. Underrot used to be one of the easiest ones, but I would say it's now one of the hardest. It's the one I struggle with the most. But that was a Freehold +5. I hope you enjoyed, and until my next Mythic Plus video.